Good evening, everyone. This is Derek Rickey with Minnesota Hockey. Want to welcome you here this evening and say thanks for joining us. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about opportunities, programs, initiatives, etc., available through Minnesota Hockey and USA Hockey to help grow hockey in your communities, as well as some development opportunities for your players. So kind of a wide variety of topics we're going to touch on. But we want to thank everyone for joining us. Before we get started and I introduce our other guests tonight, I want to just walk through a couple of things. And the first of those is to just share our upcoming schedule for the leader. This session is a part of our association leader conference. We typically hold it in person in the spring. Obviously, this year's a little bit unique. We're making the best of it here going virtual, but that format is obviously a little bit different. So we're going to be doing them on Tuesday and Thursday nights over the next few weeks here. We're taking off Labor Day week to try and avoid any conflicts with school. But hopefully you've seen this schedule already. If not, take a peek at it. And if there's other sessions you're interested in, you can register at minnesotahockey.org/leaders. You should be able to register right up until that evening. We are going to be kind of following a 7 o'clock and then an 8:15 schedule on each of those nights. So, and then feel free if you have questions on any of those sessions, you can always send those to me via the chat, and we can fill you in on what they might include. The other thing I want to do is just take a couple of minutes and thank all of the corporate partners we have that support our leader conference. As many of you know, I see a lot of familiar names that have attended our event in the past. We really don't charge anything to attend. We collect a deposit, but actually give that back. And in some cases, we provide a travel subsidy. So we're really kind of taking all that expense and trying to minimize any costs by an association. Well, that's only made possible by our partners. Their support of this event is absolutely tremendous. We couldn't do it without them. So just want to give a little shout out to them. And I would say beyond that, all of these organizations provide some sort of service to community associations in Minnesota, whether it's development opportunities through Intelligim, obviously the health side of it with TRIA. FlipGive is a new partner that provides some fundraising opportunities. They will be participating in a couple of our sessions here over the next couple of weeks. All of you are aware of Sports Engine, Dick's Sporting Goods, but we also have JLG Architects, which is another new partner, and they specialize in building arenas. So we're excited to have them on board. And then Viking Trophies, which can help you out with any trophy, plaque, etc. needs that you may have. And Rink Systems, which has been a partner of our Hard Divider program for the past 5-6 years. So special thanks to our corporate partners. With that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and bring the rest of our guests onto the screen here. I want to introduce first a couple of my colleagues with Minnesota Hockey. We have Glenn Andreessen on, who is our executive director. Glenn, thanks for joining us tonight. Mike Terwilliger, who is our hockey programs manager at Minnesota Hockey. Mike, thanks for hopping on. And then we have Katie Holmgren, who is program services manager at USA Hockey. Katie, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Derek. Welcome, everybody. Happy to be here. Love this leadership conference in person. So unfortunately, we don't all get to meet in person, but I am happy to be here. Quick introduction for anyone I haven't met. I know Derek said a lot of familiar names on here, but Katie Holmgren, Director of Program Services. I will say what Program Services is shortly for anyone who doesn't know. But I am a Minnesota native, so always happy to work with this group in Minnesota right now on a little extended summer vacation before I head back to our national office in Colorado. But I am going to go over some of the national growth resources that we offer. I know you guys have great resources that are offered by Minnesota Hockey, which is awesome. They do a great job for you guys. And I'm going to go over some of our national resources. Tonight will be a little different than we've presented in the past, just because of kind of the unique situation that we're in, and I'll talk about some of the specific updates we have that are a little bit more related to the current situation with the pandemic and how we're adjusting things to hopefully help our associations move through this season with growth and some association leadership. So I will share my screen here and I'll get going. Just a real quick presentation I have for you with some specific things. So again, program services, we provide resources in the form of a lot of growth initiatives, specifically at the 8 and under level, and then acquisition and retention. What we really do is collect best practices from around the country. So when we work closely with Minnesota Hockey and Derek on your membership development group, we really create those or collect those best practices from around the country so we can help share and kind of provide those on a nationwide basis instead of just, state by state or district by district. So we drive overall participation and growth in hockey. And then what we also do is provide roadmaps for local associations. So if for some reason you haven't heard of the department called Program Services, we were previously known as Membership Development. And really our sole focus was growth at the 8 and under level. And now, in addition to that, we provide resources for associations in the form of training and club excellence, which I'll go over, and kind of roadmaps to lead associations through a season. We knew that USA Hockey did a great job of providing training and other opportunities for coaches and referees, and we were kind of leaving it up to the associations themselves to run through a season. So we provide a lot, especially in the form of nonprofit resources. So our Try Hockey for Free dates, we have determined dates for the season, although we know it's a little bit different season. So our national dates for the season are November 7th and then mid-February again, which coincides with Hockey Week Across America. The one change that I wanted to be sure that everybody knows about is all of the sanctioning, if you're hosting a Try Hockey for Free event through Minnesota Hockey and USA Hockey, now goes directly through our Try Hockey for Free portal. So some of you may have been used to sending a Grow the Game sanction or special event sanction to your registrar or risk manager, and now all of those will go directly through USA Hockey. So those will kind of be vetted by our program services team. And if we need additional information, we'll go back to your affiliate, which is Minnesota Hockey, and gather whatever information we need. But we did this in order to kind of simplify the process so that we had all the information we needed to launch your Try Hockey for Free portal. And when you fill that form out online with us, what that provides us with is all of the information we need to get you set up for players to register under those Try Hockey for Free portals. So I know that sometimes our November dates are a little bit conflicting with some other very important dates in Minnesota. So if you can't host on those national dates, we totally recognize that. We understand it. And we do want to point out that things that a lot of people don't know are that you can register any non-national dates. So if it's not the November or February dates, you can register those dates that you host on any date you want to host a Try Hockey for Free to be covered under USA Hockey. You can also use the portal. So the difference would be just the resources that we provide to you. You still have access to all of our online marketing resources that you can customize for your association. You still have access to, a social media calendar that you might want to use to help promote your event. We wouldn't be able to send you jerseys or the Halloween cards or Valentine's cards that are coinciding with the national dates, but you can still use that portal, which gives you access to keeping track of which players have registered, which means they've already signed the USA Hockey waiver, which protects you, especially for this year. You can keep track of that list of players, who's registered, you can check them in, you can use that for check-in if you want to. We have had several questions about like a learn to play or a learn to skate, especially from Minnesota. So you can register your learn to play or learn to skates through that Try Hockey for Free portal as well, if there are 4 or less sessions. And the reason I say that is because under what we call a Grow the Game sanction, players are allowed to try hockey without having to pay for a USA Hockey membership for up to 4 times. So if you have specific questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. I will send this. I do want to mention I'll send this presentation with these direct links to Derek to send out after this. So you'll have all of our contact information and these direct links. So for this season, we know it's going to be a little bit different, and that does include, we will be providing all the normal resources aside from, we will not be able to send jerseys in November. So we're putting out updated guidelines, and that's just due to ordering processes through the pandemic. Just like we know it's put a strain on associations, it's put a strain a little bit on our resources. So we will not be able to send jerseys to associations for November, but we will for February. We'll send that out to associations that have participated in the past, or if you go in and request through our portal, a Try Hockey for Free event sanction, we'll make sure that you're on that email list as well. So some of the updated items we're going to give you are different ideas of what you might want to give a player to take home. We know that jersey is a really important piece. That's a tangible item that a player can take home with them when they tried hockey. So we've got a pretty good list of ideas and different things that you might be able to do locally. The other big item is that we're working with several partners on updated guidelines and on sanitizing and social distancing to still be able to host Try Hockey, because we do know that it's integral for growing all of our youth associations. I know that lots of associations in Minnesota are already hosting them on our non-national dates. So we are going to provide updated guidelines. Again, everything we go through will refer you a lot of times back to your state health guidelines and the CDC, but we will be providing some of those. So whether you have the ability to sanitize the equipment that you might have for loaning, or in other cases, if you don't have the ability to sanitize that equipment, we do allow during Try Hockey events and Grow the Game events to use bike helmets and winter gloves. So we'll make sure all of that's outlined for you, as well as some different unique things like special circumstance for this year, email templates that you can send out to parents that are participating, so that they have some more education process on why hockey's still safe, what your association's doing to sanitize and make sure that kids are safe during the pandemic. So again, if you do have questions about those, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll answer them all at the end. But also, if you have questions specifically, feel free to reach out to us at any time. Another big piece of what we do for our growth resources is the Hatchery Growth Challenge. And that is a piece that really helps you by utilizing our programs and tools that a lot of associations are already using in the 3 driving forces of growth, which are retention, acquisition, and conversion. Essentially, we reward you for already participating in a lot of the things you're already doing. So we want to make sure that we're helping you kind of guide through that season of the different pieces. So obviously acquisition, as we just talked about, is like a Try Hockey for Free. Conversion would be your continue to play programs, and retention. What are you doing to keep those kids in the game? So I haven't outlined what all of those items will be, because it is, as with most things this year, we're updating those to kind of guide you through this unique season during a pandemic. So there might be some things that we're including, like for acquisition or even retention of a return to rinks hosted event similar to Try Hockey, where you'd have people register and really welcome those families back. So we will have the Hat Trick Growth Challenge again this year. You still will be rewarded. If you haven't received your rewards for last season, we're still working on completing that with Pure Hockey. Now that we're kind of coming back out of it and able to really complete those things from last season. So if that is a question, if you haven't gotten your rewards yet, you will be soon. You'll be receiving some communication soon. And then again, if you want to go register for this, we'll be communicating with all of our associations that have participated in the past. If you haven't participated in the past and you want to know more about it, you can still register your association to be part of it. And then you'll be part of that next email communication when we throw those things out. But what's been unique for us this year, and with most anybody in sports, is that we're trying to adjust and make sure these things really make sense for the season. It's not business as normal, and we know that. We want to really help you keep your association growing. So we'll be adjusting the Hatchery Growth Challenge as well. Within Club Excellence. So Club Excellence, which when I moved into this department, and didn't fully understand it, it sounded like we were giving you more work. And really what Club Excellence serves as is to make your job easier as association leadership. So it's an online platform that really just outlines a season for you. So kind of helps you lead with intent, talks about kind of the not super fun side of hockey if you're running an association. So board governance, what's your role as a nonprofit board, financial oversight, There's plug and play documents in there that refer to things like, your finances, checklists for the season, what sample items for a board agenda if you're new to your association. It kind of lays that out for you. There's some plug and play documents. You can customize them to your own association. We've been working for about a year now to relaunch Club Excellence so that it's more user-friendly. The menu items will be a little easier to navigate. There's going to be some new data insights, so you can kind of look at things like where your association membership is, where your heavy population might be. So to give you some insight on where you might want to target something like a Try Hockey for Free marketing, and really wanted to simplify it so it was easier to navigate and made more sense and didn't make you feel like you had more work to do. So we've really been working on that. We want to make sure it's ready to go with as few bugs as possible. So it's not ready to launch yet, but things you'll find in there if you haven't used it before, in addition to board governance and financial oversight and those things I mentioned, are job descriptions. So if you have major positions on a board like president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, there's job descriptions that live within Club Excellence that you can modify as your own association to help you adjust if you have some different qualifications you're looking for. And then under those positions, there's position specific tasks, and those are laid out by part of the season. So there's things that are early season, preseason, it goes by month. And then there's resources tied into all of those tasks. So easy click to, whether it takes you to a different website or takes you to resources within Club Excellence, all of that kind of lives in one place for you. Some cool updates to this year is in your position specific tasks, you'll no longer have to log in and see what those are, but you can set email and text reminders to yourself, which is kind of nice. So you don't have to just log in and see what might be next. If you're looking through, say, the month of September and you know that you need to remind yourself of some things, you can set text and email reminders. So a little more convenience built into Club Excellence in the new relaunch. And because we know that hockey's open, and again, it's in Minnesota and it's open and it's ready and you're starting, what we're going to do in the meantime is put together an association checklist and kind of take those pieces out that are maybe COVID specific, pandemic specific, things we want you to think about, and then early season things that you might want to start thinking about. So we'll be passing that along. I'll send it to Derek and Minnesota Hockey to get out to everybody. Just to kind of give you, if you haven't used it before, it might give you sort of a little bit of a snapshot of what Club Excellence can do to kind of lead you through. And once Club Excellence is launched, we'll be doing some different webinars to kind of walk through those pieces specifically, since it will be a new season. So again, as with everything, we'll be adding in tasks that are specific to this season, some guidelines that are specific to this season. There will be a little bit more user-friendly area for affiliate resources. So Minnesota Hockey, anytime they have an update, they can update their own resources within Club Excellence, and then you'll all, as Minnesota Hockey associations, have access to those resources. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for everything. That's really board governance, but then we've also got hockey development, ADM links in there as well to kind of help you all encompassing. So we're excited about that relaunch. One thing I did want to mention that we typically mention within the Hatchery Growth Challenge is Welcome Back Week, because that's coming up really soon. And we know that it'll be crucial to retention or conversion of your new players from previous seasons. So per the usual, we're going to do some pre-recorded phone calls with some of our national team players. These are always really, really popular. It's a pre-recorded call that goes to typically only players that are in your 8U associations that haven't registered for the season. Girls get a call from our women's national team players and boys from a men's national team player. A lot of times, as in your case, in an NHL market, you would get a phone call from an American-born player, of course, in Minnesota's case, with the Wild. This season, which is kind of unique, we're doing it not only for 8U players, but it'll be across the board for all hockey players. So different things are being done at different age levels. So it'll be kind of cool, even your adult associations that are registered with USA Hockey, to kind of welcome them back and remind them that hockey's back, we'll get a phone call. So it's being done on a larger scale this year. And then once Welcome Back Week, when we really try to welcome everyone back, is completed, we'll reach out to associations who've enrolled in this, and they can download a list of players we really encourage you to reach out to those players yourselves and give that personal touch as we've been doing. So we'll provide scripts for you to use kind of as that follow-up call to the big national phone call. So still an exciting thing. More information will be coming on that probably in the next week. So just wanted to put that on your radar. Additional resources that we've got right now. So again, kind of unique to this year, but we've been adjusting as we go. The return to rinks guidelines, and I know in Minnesota specifically, and I sat on the call just previous to this, is you guys have a very specific return to rinks and the phases that you're in. So we do have return to rinks resources on our website, but I would encourage you, although this is a pretty big national collaboration between USA Hockey, USA Figure Skating, and our US Ice Rink Association, everything essentially points back to referring to your state guidelines. So Minnesota Hockey has kept everybody really up to date. You guys have very specific guidelines. So what you would find in that portion is really referring back to Minnesota Hockey, and I'll encourage you to do that as you move through all of this and the changes in the different phases you go through. So you have great resources in Minnesota, refer to those. The other things that might be useful for you is our webinar series that we started during the pandemic, and we're going to continue. So a more in-depth look at our best practices and resources, since we haven't been able to get out and reach everybody. We've got a toolkit that is specific under Return to Rinks for communicating with your members that we are working on updating this week as well. So there's some communication pieces. Instead of having associations have to come up with communication pieces on their own, we took a lot of our national communication pieces and kind of pared them down so you could use them locally. You'll find those in the Return to Rinks toolkit that is on the website. There's a webinar that gives you best practices for using those tools. And we have gotten a lot of positive feedback, and we're continuing to adjust. So we're going to add some new resources this week. And so those will continue to be updated for you as we kind of move through this season and different phases of play. So we'll be doing additional webinars starting next week. We'll continue to run through in-depth on those resources. Like I mentioned, things like Club Excellence. When that's ready to go, we'll do a webinar really digging in depth on the new resources in Club Excellence. We'll do one very shortly on the new guidelines for Try Hockey for Free and kind of best practices. We've had a few associations already host Try Hockey for Frees with this new kind of world we're living in for the next foreseeable future anyways. And so we'll have some of them on and talk about the ways that they've made it work. So if you're kind of lost and you don't really know where to go, those will be some useful webinars for you. Regional training symposiums, we have collaborated with our ADM group who runs our NARS Hockey Director course, and we do an admin portion of that course that really goes really in depth, especially with the Club Excellence resources and kind of best practices for running your association and making it simple for the new hockey parent when you're working on growth. We weren't able to have that this year, so we have been working on regional training, although I imagine we'll be traveling soon. So that being said, we want to be sure that you know if you need a custom webinar to dig into any of the resources or trainings, especially virtually right now, myself and the rest of the program services team are always happy to do those for you. So you don't just have to rely on what's already on the website. If you see something there that you really want to go in depth on of any of our resources, we are always happy to do those for you. It's a little bit easier now without travel. We can hop on them virtually. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you think your association could use some more training for your board or even in your region. We're always happy to do that. This is all of our contact information. Right now, it's just myself and Taylor. Hopefully, we'll be adding some more staff soon. The website's right there. What I am going to also show you is where you can find everything on our website. And again, I will send this presentation to Derek to distribute, but I know not all websites are always user-friendly, so I want to make sure I run you through where all of our resources are. So under the program services website, you'll find really basic stuff. Return to Rinks is right here front and center right now. And again, that includes the Return to Rinks document as well as the communication toolkit and our webinars. So that Return to Rinks resources is really, really tailored to this time and this kind of unique situation we're going through. So that would be where I'd point you to right now if you're looking for unique solutions based on what we're going through. That's a great resource. And then under our growth resources, this is where you'll find all the stuff we talked about. So our Try Hockey for Free days, The link for you to register as a host association is there, as well as links for you to send out the Try Hockey for Free searchable website. The Hat Trick Growth Challenge is there. So as I mentioned, right now, we don't have updated items for you to complete under the Hat Trick Growth Challenge. Within the next week, those will be there. So that's where you'll be able to find those and register. And then Girls Hockey Weekend is under here as well, which is a huge initiative from the IIHF. The only reason I didn't touch on it is because the IIHF, as the international organizer for hockey, has not announced dates for this season. So we're waiting on that. That being said, if they don't host one this year, USA Hockey is working on still having a girls hockey weekend to celebrate all the girls in our game and kind of give you some additional resources to either grow the game on the girls side or just celebrate those girls that are part of your association. And then under the lead portion, you'll find the Club Excellence information. So again, you can register your association for Club Excellence so we can get you set up as soon as it's ready, or you can find some more in-depth information about it there. And then under the Connect piece, right now you'll just find our information and you can learn a little bit more about myself and Taylor and the program services team. And eventually what we'd like this Connect piece to be is, you know, if we know you're a really great association and you are awesome at Try Hockey's, we would have ways for different associations to connect under this piece. So we're always looking for associations who are great at what they do, and we'll start adding those to kind of connect you with each other, not just with ourselves, but you know, connect you with other associations around the country that are doing things really well. So that is a quick overview of what we've got for national resources. But I do think as we've updated and continue to update, it's important to share those with you guys. So hopefully if I didn't address anything, Derek, or let me know if you need me to touch on anything else. I know that's quick for all the stuff we do, but
yeah,
everyone knows where it lives.
So just real quick, there are a couple of questions that came up in the chat. The first one was in regards to the Try Hockey for Free portal. I'm sure these regulations may be different across the country, but at least in Minnesota, we have pods of 25. Are there any way to limit those registrations within the portal?
Yep. So we've always been able to limit your registrations. And for sure, I would say just because of what you mentioned, Derek, that around the country, there's different guidelines. When we do approve you as an association, just make sure you're double checking that is set to 25. Currently, the way the system is set up, and we are hoping to launch a new Try Hockey system, but the way it lives right now, you as the association can adjust that registration limit. And if you're not sure how to do that, just email myself or the program services email and we can adjust that for you.
Awesome, thank you. The other question was in relations to banner. The 2-and-2 challenge, that was a big deal. We have banners hanging on a number of our rinks. Is that the same for the Hat Trick?
So Hat Trick is actually the basically new and improved version of 2-and-2. Of course, when all of this started, we were in the process of working on how we were going to update those banners for you. So unfortunately, I don't have a good answer, but we are working on a solution to that because we certainly appreciate all the work that our associations do on those. And we know that the associations that complete them, and especially when you hit those gold levels, you're proud of it. So we are working on updated banners for those. We'll for sure have the online ones for this past season. It's just, again, with the limitations of how this pandemic has gone, we haven't come up with a good solution for the Hat Trick banners, but we are definitely working on one so that you can still kind of show that, because we're proud to see those when we visit rinks around the country too.
Awesome. Any other questions for Katie? Feel free to throw those in the Q&A or in the chat here. I think Katie, you're going to stick around here through the rest of the session, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. So if we see any more come in, we can touch base on those at the end.
And I'll throw my direct email and phone number in the chat, but also, like I mentioned, Derek, I'll send you that presentation to send out.
Awesome, thank you. All right, with that, we're gonna switch over and talk Minnesota hockey programs and resources here real quick. And the first thing that I wanted to touch on just really quick is the Little Wild Learn to Play program. Many of you are probably aware that it's not happening this fall, which obviously we're disappointed about. It was a little bit out of our hands. But nonetheless, we're excited to say that they're going to do, the plan is to host 2 Little Wild sessions in 2021. So right now we're looking at working with the Wild and the NHL and the NHLPA on hosting those in April of 2021, and then again in September, which is when we typically host that. So hopefully, you have local programs in place for this type of learn to play event where you're introducing kids to the game. But we are excited that it's coming back next year, fast and furious. So. Also wanted to touch base on our equipment grant program, which is called Gear Up Minnesota. Unfortunately, this is closed for the current season. I put the standard timeline up there so you're aware of it for future years. This year, we had a little bit of a unusual timeline as many things are going on. So we ended up opening this up in late July, closed it in early August. We've just finished reviewing these and are looking to be distributing the grants in the form of Dick's Sporting Goods gift cards here in the next couple of weeks. So associations that are recipients this season should see those in the next, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. That's kind of the timeline. And then for those that are recipients, I would just put a little plug in that, and even those that aren't, I guess, Dick's Sporting Goods is going to be offering 20% discounts for Minnesota Hockey members through our e-newsletter and a few e-blasts coming up in September and October. So there's going to be set weekends where in-store purchases, you can get a pretty good discount at Dick's Sporting Goods. Keep an eye out for those. We'll have more information coming. But again, this is our primary way that we distribute equipment and help supply those. And that will be kind of coming back in more of a normal schedule next season where those will open up in April, run through the summer months. So keep an eye out for those for next year if you didn't get one in this year, and hopefully we can help get you some gear and increased access to the game through that method. Now, from a financial standpoint, we have the Pass the Puck grant. So we have our Gear Up Minnesota program, which focuses on providing associations with equipment. And this one is more in terms of financially supporting various initiatives that you're doing as an association. Okay, and we really focus in on programs that are targeting the youngest age group. So Minnesota Hockey, USA Hockey, we really focus on getting kids in at that 5 to 8 window. So that's really where we're hoping that associations are focusing on in terms of their growth efforts. Now, the dollar amounts I would say typically range are $500 to, as we've seen, as much as $2,000 through this Pass the Puck grant. So pretty significant amount of money available. And really, there's a wide variety of events that we've supported in the past. So it's everything from giveaway items like the foam puck you see on the screen. We help pay for a mascot. We've helped with promotional videos, Santa costumes, bounce houses, and just a real wide array. But the bottom line is that if there's a growth program you're hosting in your association and you're going, hey, we would really love to add this. So maybe it's a try hockey event or a learn to play, and you really want to give every kid a t-shirt or some other form of giveaway. Maybe it's a mini hockey stick, something like that, and you don't have the funds to do it. That's where we're hoping that you reach out to us and say, hey, we have this really cool idea, but we could use some help implementing it. And the reason I say it that way is because if you come back to us every year and 3 years in a row, you say, hey, we're hosting this learn to play session. Could you pay for our ice time? And that's all we hear from you. Eventually, we're not going to give you any money. So the goal is to help spur some creativity and generate some cool programs, some cool initiatives at the local level, and hopefully we can help them make them a reality. So that's the general idea on this Pass the Puck grant. Again, these are available on the Minnesota Hockey website. And then the last thing that I always like to do from a growth aspect is I like to touch on just a couple of best practices real fast. And the reason I always throw these up is because they really don't change. And getting kids into hockey hasn't changed in decades. And I say that because looking through Minnesota Hockey, USA Hockey archives, found some stuff from the 1980s, and they were talking about low cost, low commitment programs to get kids started in hockey. And it really hasn't changed. That's still the primary tool, and what associations lean on in the form of those try hockey and learn to play and learn to skate sessions. So those really are kind of the bread and butter of growing the game. But I think beyond that, it's really adapting it to your community, and that's where having a growth coordinator, and if you can, even a growth committee where you have people focused specifically on doing these types of things, and passing along that knowledge from year to year, so they know how to get the word out to your local schools, because that is different in every community. And all of these other, when different community events are and things like that, that if you can have a growth coordinator and a growth committee that's diligent on this topic, that knowledge can kind of get passed along from group to group and year to year. And there's less of the mountains and valleys in terms of growing the game. A couple more pieces that I do like to touch on at all times is, as hockey people, it's really easy to assume people know how to put equipment on, or people know where the rink is, or people know that they should get their skates sharpened. There's all these little things that after if you grew up playing, it's easy to forget that others may not know. And it's really, really important to have a customer service type of attitude, and to just make it as simple as possible for new parents and new families to get into the game. So, and one of the best ways that I've seen and heard of doing that is hosting some sort of a parent Q&A session during one of your events. So if you have a series of try hockey, maybe you take 15 minutes after the kids get on the ice and you talk to all the parents. But some forum where they have an opportunity to ask questions is obviously really, really important. The other thing, gradual piece, I like to put that in there because every once in a while I'll see an association that'll go from, hey, our mites are free for the first year, and then it's $600, and then it's $1,500 for squirts. And my question is, well, why make the first year free if they're going to pay $600 the next year? That's kind of a big jump, and that sticker shock makes retention really difficult. So any way that you can kind of make it somewhat gradual, both in terms of cost, but also in terms of commitment, is really valuable in terms of retention. And I think people kind of know that, but it's easy to forget about it when we're making those decisions. Last but not least, the making it fun is the most obvious, probably. But in terms of retention, it's probably the most important as well. Kids start hockey to have fun, and they certainly stay in it because it's fun. And if it's not fun, they won't play. So that's got to be a priority of every 8 and under, every mite program, that we're making it fun to be a part of, even if it's off the ice, making it a gathering place and getting kids excited about it. So that is it from my end. I'm going to pass the torch over to Glenn. He's going to talk about a couple of other programs.
Thanks, Derek. And before I get into a couple other of these programs, I do want to address another question that came up in the chat by Jeff, who had a great question about programs to make it more accessible for families and players of color. That has been a major focus of Minnesota hockey over the past year, and especially this past off season. And Jeff referenced some roundtables and webinars that we've had around race and equity. More to your question, Jeff, currently we don't have those in place. We're working on it. We are kind of starting from the top and working our way down into those events. I will say I am excited about a project we're working on with the University of Minnesota, who is doing a contest for sports management students within the university to work on a project specific to this, to come up with a marketing campaign and event aimed at recruiting more players and families of color into hockey. So I would just say stay tuned to that. But I would also say, you know, these programs that I'm about to talk to, especially this next one, the Family Mentor Program, if associations can kind of direct this or put an emphasis on families of color or non-traditional hockey families, that's great. And we would encourage that. So USA Hockey, I know Katie's on here too.
Yeah, Glenn, if I could jump in on a couple of those things.
Sure, go ahead.
And not necessarily tri-hockey specific, but I think that's a really great question that truthfully, Jeff, till you asked it, we don't address a ton in our presentations, is for club excellence specifically. Instead of making it a separate piece, you know, so many times it's addressed as like okay, so diversity, equity, inclusion is kind of a separate piece. So like for us, myself and Stephanie, the director of diversity and inclusion at USA Hockey, have worked really hard on, you know, when we relaunch Club Excellence, on not making it a separate piece. Same kind of with the girls piece, is not making it a separate piece, but really enveloping it into the fabric of every position under a board. So it's not a piece that you just click on if you're interested, but it's just the fabric of like what every association should be considering during the season. So those are pieces we are starting to build in, not necessarily specific just to race and people of color, but a cool update on the Tri-Hockey site that I didn't mention is currently the way that it existed. And as we rebuild, we've evaluated how all of these things go. And really this off season, because it's been not really typical, we haven't been traveling, it's given us time to evaluate, is Tri-Hockey was always geared towards kids 8 and under. So when you go to the Tri-Hockey site, even if you're an association that wants to host it for 25-year-olds, everything was kids imagery. So now soon when we relaunch a new kind of Tri-Hockey site, it'll be available to lots of different modalities. So you'll see different imagery, including adults, disabled players, girls specific, and those kinds of things. So we are actively working on, the cool part about being in membership at USA Hockey, even though it's called program services, we really work in membership, is working in conjunction with our other partners and really encompassing everything at USA Hockey under membership, because really it's everybody's job. So really good question. And yes, those things are being, I wouldn't say for funding wise, but for things to keep on everybody's radar and make sure that's just part of the fabric of what we do. So.
Thanks, Katie, for jumping in on that. So I'll get into a few other programs. A big thing that we want to make people aware of is that Minnesota Hockey is, we're here to help associations make things better for their members. So we think that some of these programs and initiatives that we've launched in recent years have done that, and hopefully you guys feel the same. So we'll start with the Family Mentor Program, which is a program we launched 2 years ago. And this is a program really designed to welcome new families into your association. And as we all know, starting hockey can be a challenge for families that have never been a part of this sport. I mean, even just figuring out how the equipment goes on can be a major task and a stressful one for parents. And then just trying to navigate where to go, what should we be doing, things like that is really kind of daunting if a parent has never been a part of this hockey culture that we love, but it can be daunting. So what this program does is it pairs those families with established families who can help them along the way in their first season. So the first 10 associations that sign up for this program, and by signing up, all we require is that you give us the names and contact info of at least 5 families that are willing to be mentor families. You send that to us and we'll send $500 to your association to go toward the purchase of gifts for the participating families, both the mentor families and the new families. All those families will get Jimmy John's gift cards, and then and at the end of the season, we have some random drawings for grand prizes for associations that participated. So in a perfect world, it's going to look different for every association and how they do it, and we encourage creativity. And to the question about diversity, we encourage that family or associations really work hard to target these new families of color to make them feel more welcome and that they have an ally going into this. Uh, so that's important. But the other key is that associations take this and run with it and do the best that they can with it. Obviously, it's great if the new family can show up to the first day of Learn to Skate or rookie camp or whatever, and that mentor family can meet them, give them a gift from their association. The kids help each other on the ice, or the older kid helps the younger kid on the ice, and the parents go in the stands and talk and get to know each other and learn about hockey, and then maybe they go out for a Jimmy John's sandwich together after. Who knows? So that's in a perfect scenario, but like I said, it might look different from association to association. But we had a lot of associations really embraced this past year with a full year to kind of promote it, and it's been great. And we really hope that we can keep exponentially growing the number of associations that are participating. So that's one program. The next rather new program, it's also 2 years old, is our Minnesota Hockey Legacy Fund. And this was a fund established by our board of directors with the sole purpose of donating money to families or associations looking to overcome tragedies or hardships. So what that means is, if this family has a young player whose father died of cancer and they have trouble making ends meet, or the kid is struggling, maybe they have to give up hockey because the mom has to work 2 jobs now, or whatever the case may be. This is to help overcome those hardships. It's not something to use for ice time or anything like that. It really is to go towards these families, and we do it in such a way that we kind of keep it quiet. A lot of times families don't want to ask for money themselves, but a member of an association will nominate or send an application on behalf of this other family. And then we'll work with the association to say, okay, we're giving this family this amount of money. How do we want to do it? Sometimes we send the money to the association and have it offset their fees or things like that. So it's reviewed by a panel, a committee called the Legacy Fund Committee, and it's really about helping those families overcome those extenuating circumstances. So knowing the situation we're in, I can tell you that it wouldn't be likely that we would fund a family that mom lost her job because of COVID or something like that. It's more to, while that's very difficult, and we hope that there's ways to help those families, this is more for those tragic events that may happen in a hockey player or hockey family's life. So encourage you to go to our website, and if you know of someone that could benefit from that, please submit an application on their behalf. Going into our next program, this is the Hard Divider program, is something that we work with Rig Systems on, one of the sponsors of this leadership summit. This is basically, and a lot of associations already have this. I would say probably half of our associations have taken advantage of this program since we implemented it. But basically, by submitting an application for a hard ice divider, which typically costs, those hard boards that separate the rink into halves or thirds, they typically cost $7,900. Through our partnership with Ring Systems, we can offer a subsidy of $2,500. So associations are really only paying $5,400 unless they do some add-ons like nets and things like that. Ring Systems also provides a discount on the junior size nets, which we are huge proponents of for especially mite hockey. So goaltenders that play that are 7 and 8 years old don't have to cover an entire net. It helps those goaltenders get more confidence in stopping more pucks, and it also helps those shooters who actually need to pick their head up a little bit and shoot to score. and maybe crash the net for more rebounds. Rink Systems offers subsidies on that. So the hard divider program has been super successful, and we want to keep that going. And so any association, if you've already got a set of hard dividers but have a second rink that you want them for, or you want an extra set so you can divide the rink into thirds, so you can run 3 cross ice games at once. Any association, even if you've already done this program, you're eligible again. So please feel free to take advantage if your arena already has them. And then the last one that I'll talk about is our Positive Coaching Alliance grants and our partnership with PCA. I know as association leaders, you probably are often dealing with parents and some issues that they may cause. I always feel like 98% of parents are fantastic and do a great job, but there are some of those problem parents that really can cause issues for a lot of us. And so when we worked with Positive Coaching Alliance, we really wanted to say, hey, how can you address some of the parent behaviors that are troublesome in hockey? And so Positive Coaching Alliance offers a great workshop called a parent workshop. And we will offer a subsidy. If your association signs up to get those parent workshops, we will offer a subsidy to help offset those costs. I went through those relatively quickly, but if there's any questions on that, I'll look through those, but I'll turn it over to Twig to go over the next programs.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Glenn. So yeah, I'm Mike Terwilliger. Most people call me Twig. So if you hear someone say Twig, they're just referring to me. But thanks for sticking with us. I know it's getting late, 9:09 on a Tuesday night after you probably had a long day of work and everything else. So appreciate you guys being here. I just looked at the list of participants, and then we got Ryan up in Alec and Andy in Red Lake Falls, and we got people from all over the state. So it's pretty cool that you guys are spending your Tuesday night with us. So I'll just share a little bit about some of the options we have for clinics, and I'll probably spend the most time on association clinics. And that's definitely what we want you guys to make sure that you know about, that we offer as a resource to you. But one of the things we offer are player clinics. And so these are a lot of times things you might see, like Derek will put on Twitter, Instagram, like Bantam Prep Clinic, or more spots open the defense clinic. And those typically, how we run those are, we usually run them in the spring and the fall. And we will have a whole site or a whole spring clinic. For instance, we have one clinic that's a spring clinic, and that clinic will probably just so you might have some typically the area with the whole spring is located. So tonight you're probably going to be some girls from Andover and Blaine and Coon Rapids because that's close, but you might have somebody from St. Cloud, or you could have somebody from Wayzata. And those are run by player development team, which is kind of on the girls' side, female side by Brooke White, who does a great job. And our player development team on the boys' side is led by Wes Boland. And so Wes and Brooke will typically do clinics for one of their top coaches will, and they'll be staffed by all of our coaches, and people will sign up through our website. And so some of the different ones we have for those are, like I said, we have some girls skills clinics tonight. We have body contact on both the girls and the boys' side, goalie clinics, defense clinics, scoring clinics. And so we actually had a pretty ambitious menu of them this spring, and we actually, because of COVID, had to postpone them, and we rescheduled them a little, not quite as many, just not knowing what it would look like here this fall. And so those will run through September, but those are located on our website under the players tab. So if you go into players and then go down to player development on our website, you'll see kind of our menu of those player clinics that are offered. So those are, I think, lots of times good things to pass along to your players in your association as something. Hey, here's another good thing for you to try. It's a really good resource for them to do outside in the fall or the spring to either get ready for the season or to kind of augment their learning that they did during the season. So we have player clinics, and next, if you want to, thanks Derek for he's advancing the slides for me. Association clinics, and so these Glenn and Derek talked earlier about the hard divider grant, And so what comes with that besides the subsidy is the association that buys those hard dividers, they also get a free association clinic. And so, and it's kind of up to the association and what they want to do. So it can be anything from working with their coaches or going on the ice to run a practice for them or doing a body contact clinic. And so that kind of goes along with that. And it was interesting. I was talking to an association this week, actually from District 5, to the president, and we were setting up a clinic that they are getting for free through getting hard dividers. And then we just got to talking. I said, well, here's all this other stuff we can do. And he said, you mean you can come out here anytime we want you to? I was like, pretty much, just let us know. So obviously we need a little bit of a heads up, but we love to go out to associations wherever they are and work with your coaches or players on a variety of things. And I'll share some of those different ones that we do. So I would say probably our most common association clinic is one I kind of call like the ADM coaches one. So that's one where we'll send either Wes Bolin or Brooke or one of our top coaches out to present. And typically these are some off ice presentations followed by some on ice as well, but talking about best practices and the American development model and what are things to keep in mind as you're running practices and setting up your player development for the season. And again, that's probably typically the one that we do the most, and it's always very well received. And again, all you just need to do for that or any of these, just contact me, contact Minnesota Hockey, and I'll figure out a date that works for you and figure out what you need and what you're looking for, and then we'll send out the team with the coaches to make it happen. So we do the coaches ADM clinic. Another one that we do is we call it coaches power skating, where usually it's Sean Goldsworthy, who's actually the Intelligem rep for USA Hockey, but he's also the Minnetonka high school head coach. And so he'll go out and, for instance, he's worked with Woodbury the last few years, and he'll go out at the start of the year and he'll work with all of the association's coaches, and he'll do an hour long or an hour and a half in the classroom and talk about power skating and some different concepts and philosophies around that. And then he takes all those coaches out on the ice and he'll work them through the different skills that he thinks should be worked on with the players during the season. And so he'll give kind of a scope and sequence to those coaches for squirts and peewees and bantams for 12U and 10U and 15U. And then he'll give them some different things to work on for about 10 weeks. And then he'll come back again in about 2 months or 10 weeks and talk to those coaches about what's going well, what's not going well, and you answer any questions. And then he'll kind of give them another scope and sequence to kind of build on that first one to work on for the rest of the year. So we felt like that's having a deeper impact in the associations that do that, where we're training the trainer and working with all the coaches and saying, hey, here's what you can do every week or every practice, versus we could also have Sean just go in there and do, hey, we're doing power skating the entire day on October 30th, and every team's going to see him for 45 minutes, and that's it. And we kind of feel like, well, although that would certainly be good, and that's great when power skating coaches come in and visit, but to be able to have something like this where Sean comes back 2 or 3 times during the year and kind of revisits and has a couple touch points with those coaches, we feel like is kind of deepens the learning. Another one that we do is, obviously we talked about our body contact. So for instance, we went to Alexandria last year and we worked with their peewees and their bantams and their 12U and their 15U and did a different session for each of those. And we would send the lead coach out, and then the association provides some assistance on the ice. And I think that kind of similar to that power skating, it's kind of like train the trainer. Then those coaches will leave that 2-hour session with Wes or whoever we send, armed with some new drills and skills, or maybe a new way to teach something that they maybe hadn't thought of before. So that's another one. And I'll just give another example. Another one is 2 team practices. So we'll go out to an association, and obviously it's a little different this year with the COVID guidelines, but with more and more associations being encouraged to share ice, we're trying to get coaches to be more creative and hear some different ways to run a practice on a sheet of ice with another team at a similar level, and helping those teams kind of work together and to keep things organized. And obviously now they'd have to be organized to keep the pods separate, but that's another one that we do as well. So, but again, with any of those, please contact me anytime. We'd love to set up something with you. And we typically do a lot of those, I would say, in late September and October into early November, because that's when people are getting their season started. But we can certainly do them into December and January. Just need to work out the schedule. So Derek, you want to go to the next slide? Thanks. Well, so we've done the girls gold rush camp a few summers, and it's gone great. Where we've had 3 Olympian gold medalists from Minnesota. That's actually Glenn's daughter, Bryn, right there holding the gold medal. How cute is she? So that's little Bryn, who just turned 7, but I think she's like 4 or 5 in that. But anyway, so that's a week long where they're working on off ice and athleticism and as well as on ice skills. But the neat thing about that, besides our development team being there, is we have gold medalists. So we had to unfortunately postpone it this year, but we're looking to get it back on the schedule next year. And then in-season events, again, we had to scale these back a little bit due to COVID, but what we've done, that's a picture from Tria Rink. We've done a series of tournaments at Tria Rink with a wild practice. And one is the Ice Bowl, where it's a really neat tournament for teams at the C level towards the end of the year. And then we also did an Honor the Game one where we partnered up with the Positive Coaching Alliance and did some things with some PWA teams that we're hoping to be able to continue some of it, different in-season events like that as well. So we'll be sending out some different informational emails to associations on what those events are, in case you still want to sign up for them. And I think that's my last slide, Derek, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. So thanks again. There's my information on there. Obviously, you can contact any of us, Glenn, Derek, or myself. But yeah, I'd love to talk hockey and shoot me an email or call anytime, and we can get things set up.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. With that kind of concludes the plan for this evening. If anybody has questions for any of us or on any of the programs, please feel free to throw them at us here. We can take a couple minutes to kind of take a peek at anything and answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, I just want to take a little bit of time to, again, thank all of you for taking the time. Like Twig said, obviously a little bit later in the evening here. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to not just listen to us, but really focus on ways to help improve your association and make the game better for kids in your community. I mean, that's what we're here for, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that this evening. And we hope that we can be a part of that going forward into the season. So with that, and not seeing any other questions, just want to say good night to everybody, and we hope to see you at a few more sessions here over the course of the Virtual Leader Conference, and then at the rinks as the season gets started. Thanks, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thanks. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.